Tonight is the night. You get a rematch of Indiana versus Oregon. The first matchup taking place in Autzen Stadium, where Indiana won that game 30-20. Now, I went back and watched a couple highlights of that game. And Oregon, they were there. They were there late. It was 20-20 in the fourth quarter, and then everything began to unravel for Oregon. Will that happen again? Well, we'll find out together, boys and girls. But before we dive into this rematch in Hotlanta, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Let's dive in. So in order to really get an understanding of this upcoming game, we are afforded the opportunity to look at the past, where these two teams met in Autzen, as I said, where Oregon was actually tied with Indiana, as I said, in the fourth quarter. With early fourth quarter, they were tied. And then everything began to unravel. Dante Moore, the pressure was getting to him as Indiana had, I believe it was 6 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss. And the most dangerous part about Indiana is all 6 of those sacks came from different people. The most individual sacks in this game came from Aiden Fisher and Kellen Wyatt with 1.5 sacks. That is the most dangerous part about this Indiana defense. Anybody and everybody is going to get their lick. And and Indiana has only gotten better since. Now, Oregon, they have gotten better as well. The defense especially has gotten so much better. And we saw Oregon hold a team who has only been held to under 20 points one time this season in Texas Tech. I'm double checking that right now. They were held, the lowest they were held before Oregon was 22 points. Outside of that, they had scored at least 29 points. And that one was against BYU. Every other time Texas Tech took the field, they scored at least 34 points or more. That is what this Oregon defense just did. Just a little over a week ago. Yeah, it'd be a little over a week at this point. That is what this Oregon team did. So they have gotten better. And the key here is for Dante Moore not to regress in the face of pressure. Now, the Oregon offensive line, they've got to be better. They've got to be able to diagnose what the defense is doing, who's coming, who's not. Because Indiana out-schemed Oregon in that front. Indiana completely and totally out-schemed Oregon. Now, Dante Moore, he absolutely had his worst game of the year. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 186 yards. Fernando Mendoza, he was pedestrian, 20 of 31, 215 and a touchdown. But Roman Hemby, he had 19 carries, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. But the fact of the matter is, Oregon was close. They were the closest to beating Indiana. Now, you can make your case for Ohio State, but Oregon was the closest. Oregon knows exactly what they're getting into with Indiana. They've had the opportunity to see them before, and it is very, very hard to beat a team twice. Now, if there's a coach out there that can do it, it is Kurt Singetti. Now, there's another thing that you need to worry about if you're Oregon, that is Dan Lanning doesn't do well in these spots. The pressure is building. Is Dan Lanning going to crack again? Is he going to make that bonehead mistake as a coach? It always tends to happen when we get into these tighter spots. You had the dud of a game plan last year in the Rose Bowl. You had you had Oregon struggling years prior. Fair or not, it's a question that needs to be answered and will be answered tonight. Now, Indiana, they just got off playing their absolute best game of the year in the biggest stage that they have ever been on in the Rose Bowl. Absolutely throttling Alabama. So, does Indiana continue to roll, or do they get that big game hangover, which, as everyone should know at this point, is a very real thing? Does Ferando Mendoza come out a little bit more lax? Now, you can say it's a dumb question because of who Kurt Singetti is and how he never, ever smiles. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But Vegas thinks that this game is going to be close. The spread, as I sit here, is 3.5 points. The over-under is 48.5. The matchup predictor, according to ESPN Analytics, have Indiana at a 70.4 clip to win this game. So, 70-30 in favor of Indiana. And I'm not going against the analytics. Now, is it going to be... Can Oregon actually win this game? Yes. They do have the horses to be able to compete, but Dante Moore is going to have the absolute game of his life. He's going to have to come out and be ready to get bloodied. He's going to have to overcome all the adversity. Now, he's not going to have to do it alone. Oregon is much healthier than what they have been. Noah Whittington going to have the game of his life. And you're going to have the wide receiving core going up and getting everything. Can they match Omar Cooper Jr.? Can they match Charlie Becker? Are they going to be able to keep up with Indiana? Now, I think they will. I think that 3.5 is about the right number. I know a lot of people, they are really leaning heavily on Indiana to win this game. And I don't blame them. It's going to be a good game. They're going to be coming out firing. But I think Oregon is going to be able to return some shots, make this game close, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. This is obviously the biggest game in either team's history. We'll see what happens with the Miami Ole Miss game, but yeah, it's all on the line, and you're gonna have to have that Heisman moment from Fernando Mendoza, which he can deliver on, and he's got the tools to deliver it too, with Hemby, with Cooper, with Becker. But the X factor in this game is gonna be in that freshman, where is it? Brandon Finney. I knew it was Finney. I couldn't remember his first. And Brandon Finney Jr. have some red zone heroics. And this Oregon defense get some red zone heroics. Turn the ball over. Hold them to a field goal. Because Indiana's going to be able to move this ball. But when the field gets short, can Oregon take advantage of the shortened field? They're going to need some heroics, especially in that secondary, against Cooper, against Becker. Can it be done? It can be done. Will it be done? I do think we are going to get we're going to get at least one turnover in the red zone from Fernando Mendoza. I do think we're going to get a pick, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so. Give me Indiana. I'm going to say 21-17 Indiana. They just cover. Give me the Hoosiers over the Ducks. Tonight in hot Atlanta. And I do think it, and I'll go even further. I think this is going to be a comeback victory too. I think Oregon does jump out to a pretty sizable lead, 10 to 14 points. And then Indiana begins to reel them back in as they begin to readjust and realize that is just football. It's just football. So let me know what you think down below. Who wins tonight? Oregon, Indiana. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next one.